those hats. Donald Trump now has 222 electoral votes to 209 for Hillary Clinton. Tom Yamas, he's getting close.
Excitement you see in that victory watch party, multiply that times 10 inside of Trump Tower right now in the war room. I'm being told by sources they are very excited. They are triumphant for several reasons. You know, we said conventional wisdom was completely wrong in this election, and so was political science. Donald Trump's on his third campaign management team. Everyone said they weren't ready for prime time. Even they themselves at time weren't sure how they would do in this race. And yet they made the call to go to Minnesota. People criticize him for that. Seems to be a smart play tonight. His last stop on this campaign was in Michigan. Seems like it was a smart play. And for this very small core group of supporters and people he worked with that are still there, they put up with a lot, and now they're here.
We've got another big state. It's an important one. Actually, it's a small state, but it's a very important one. It's the state of Iowa. 6 electoral votes. Last vote of Republican for George W. Bush in 2004. It has gone to Donald Trump. And John Carl, I got to bring this to you right now because now basically Hillary Clinton has one path.
She basically has one path. I'll show it to you 2 ways. First of all, on the map, she needs to win all of those states we just mentioned in that industrial Midwest, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and she needs to hang on to the state of Nevada. If she does that, she narrowly wins. Let's look at it on our possibilities board. So here's where we are. If she wins Michigan, New Hampshire, Nevada, Pennsylvania, she still needs to win the state of Wisconsin to get over 270.
So Donald Trump has many, many more paths at this point, and he is still leading. Let's go through those states. He is still leading in most of those states.
He is still leading in most of those states. Let's go back to our map. So we go start with running out of states that are still open to her. Pennsylvania. Clinton is now up slightly in Pennsylvania, but Donald Trump is up in the state of New Hampshire, 48, 46, 65% reporting. In Michigan, it is tightened, but Donald Trump is still leading in the state of Michigan with almost 60% reporting. Wisconsin, Donald Trump is up 3 points with 70% remaining. In Minnesota, Clinton has a lead. So, but right now, she has to win in 3 states where Donald Trump.
And let's dig down in Wisconsin because he's got a fairly healthy lead there right now, 3 points.
In Wisconsin, yes, he does. And, you know, here's one county that caught my eye, if I can just zoom back out, in Wisconsin. Up here, Door County, it's not a very big county, but this is a county, and I'll circle it so you can see what I'm talking about right here. He has got a 3-point lead with, sorry, let me get, Door County. Anyway, he's got a lead in Door County. This is a county that Barack Obama won by double digits in 2008 and by 7 points in 2012. It's a place where the median income is $50,000. It's almost predominant. It's 96% white, and it's a state that's been Democratic, but now suddenly is the Trump Democrat.
And Matthew Dowd, when you look at the margins in Ohio, that would tell you something about what could happen in these other states as well.
Well, I think when you take a look at Ohio, which looks like it's going to be an 8 to 10 point victory for Donald Trump, and then you extrapolate those voters that are there, which are also in Wisconsin and also in Michigan, right now, the odds completely favor Donald Trump being elected next president of the United States. Right now, the odds are totally in his favor.
And if he wins Michigan, I mean, if he wins Wisconsin, either one of them, he wins.
Terry Moran, you were talking about Brexit.
Well, it is deja vu. There's no question about it. The sense of all the polls and all the pundits going in was that Britain would never leave the European Union. It's such a radical thing to do. And they were being told by all their betters, the voters of Great Britain, that the smart play, the smart thing to do was to stay in the European Union. And en masse, the great wave of the unwashed. Britain is a very class-based society, and the people who voted for Brexit were the people who were not in the higher classes for sure. And they came out and they socked the establishment right in the face. And it does feel like that's what's happening because of Donald Trump. And I just want to take a step back here. This is an astonishing personal triumph. As Tom just pointed out, this was not a campaign by any normal sense. This was a personal endeavor. And one thing struck me while these results were coming in, a quote from his sister, Marianne Trump Berry, who's a judge on the New York State Supreme Court. She said, "I knew better even as a child than to even attempt to compete with Donald because he always wins."
Martha Raddatz, I wonder what Vladimir Putin is thinking right now.
I think Vladimir Putin's probably very excited right now, and I think other world leaders are a little fearful of what would happen under a Trump presidency. I think some members of the senior officers in the military are probably a little nervous about this too. I mean, he's basically said the generals have been reduced to rubble. Let's remember what the Trump asked for: a ban on Muslims, build a wall. He offended Mexicans, the disabled, lashed out at a Gold Star family, the military fighting in Mosul around there. He said they shouldn't tell people what's happening, and the Access Hollywood tape. That Access Hollywood tape we haven't talked a lot about this evening, but the white working class men I spoke to after that Access Hollywood tape was released didn't care. I mean, really didn't care.
White evangelical votes than we have ever seen in our exit polling, 80-some%. And it might not have been a campaign for Donald Trump in the traditional sense, but there was definitely a campaign in the churches. There were videos that went out on Sunday of Mike Pence talking in the churches, buses that went out, and that turnout is the highest we've ever seen for a presidential candidate.
George, last night...
Go ahead.
Use the word fear in talking about how foreign leaders are responding to this. I've got a number of emails from friends of mine of color across the country. And there's also a level of fear growing in brown America. Because if you look at the optics of the Trump rally,
Right.
to many people, that looks like 1950 America. You don't see many brown people walking around that room. And so I think there is a sense with some of the rhetoric we've heard throughout their campaign that this, if Trump goes on the win, this may be a wonderful opportunity for him to now pivot back to people of color and say, don't be nervous, because many people are nervous this evening.
Another piece of good news for Republicans coming in right now. It is from the state of Wisconsin, and that is the incumbent Republican Senator Ron Johnson has defeated former Senator Russ Feingold right there, 52-45. So, Bill Kristol, that means if this continues to go the way we see it going right now, you will have that Republican Senate.
Looks that way, or at least 50-50 with Republican baby vice president breaking the tie. And incidentally, another state, I mean, Pennsylvania, I mean, which Mrs. Secretary Clinton's ahead in, again, just eyeballing it, most of the vote looks to me like it's Republican vote that's outstanding. That blue wall that everyone, this always happens in politics, right? When I came to Washington, it was the electoral lock that Republicans had, that the Democrats couldn't pick after 80, 84, 88, those three big Republican victories in a row. Then there's the Democratic blue wall, but the Democratic blue wall, which was Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, those were three of the key states in it, looks like it's totally crumbling.
You know, that Wisconsin Senate race is a shocker. That was one that most Republicans today that I spoke to thought was going to go to the Democrats. So we have a very good day for Republicans, not just, and not good for all Republicans on the top, but a very good day for Republicans in the Senate and also the House, because it looks like we are projecting that they will lose no more than 9 and possibly as few as 5 seats in the House. That's far less than they thought they were going to lose.
Let's dig into Wisconsin a little bit more. What are you seeing out of Madison County in Wisconsin?
Let's take a look. Madison County. We see 70... In Madison, we see 71% of the votes in. Obviously, huge Clinton vote there, but 29% still to come in.
29% still to come in. How about Dane County?
Dane County, right next door. Wait. I don't have Dane County at my. Oh, there it is. Dane County, 71% in, and obviously it's a big Democratic county. So there still are a lot of outstanding Democratic votes potentially out there, but Trump's got a pretty solid lead.
George, I think one of the things I think we're seeing, we've all talked along how unpopular both of these candidates were, how high their dislikability was, and how untrusted they both were. What it looks like has developed is that voters would rather go with a flawed outsider than a flawed insider. That seems to be their decision. They know that Donald Trump's flawed. They know he isn't temperamentally ready to be president. But instead of going somebody they didn't like as the insider, they went with the outsider.
And Tom Yamas, let me bring this question to you. You spent a lot of time with the Trump campaign. How much thought have they put into what he would do as president? How prepared are they for this transition and to take over?
You know, he had Governor Chris Christie from New Jersey was heading up his transition team. Governor Christie obviously had a lot of news he was dealing with in the last 2 weeks. It's unclear how far he got on that. But he did have a core group of supporters that included Mayor Giuliani, Chris Christie, Donald Trump, of course, himself, and others that were with him to the end. Governor Mike Pence's running mate, who was always with him, Senator Jeff Sessions. So we'll see how that cabinet could possibly shake out. But to be completely honest, I don't know if they've thought that far into the future because they were so focused on winning this race. Another quick update from inside that war room. They're now high-fiving each other. Trump family members with the staff. It looks like they're almost celebrating a victory tonight.
Which is the complete opposite of Hillary Clinton, not on the victory front, on the preparing for the what comes next front. I mean, we were joking, the press corps that covers her, that they had essentially started measuring the drapes. Let's just talk about the two different campaigns. I was just looking at some of these numbers. Days as a candidate, 576, Hillary Clinton, 512 for Trump. She had 350 fundraisers that she attended. He had 50. She raised $502 million. He raised $258. They've got to be scratching their heads right now. You wonder if the Democrats completely not only underestimated Donald Trump, but the entire Republican Party.
Let's take a look at the national vote coming in right now as well. Donald Trump has pulled ahead, I believe, in the national vote right there. That's right, 48 to 47%, about 1.5 million votes. Alex Castellanos.
To the point here, maybe there's some reasons that men voted against the first woman president and all of that. But underneath this all, Donald Trump had a very clear message. Make America great again. He was change. I was walking through the D.C. airport, and they were selling the T-shirts at the tchotchke stand. What did the Trump T-shirt say? Make America great again. The Hillary Clinton T-shirt said, Hillary Clinton in 2016. There was no real message, vision, offering the American people something better. They tested 85 slogans in the campaign. Not finding that clear message, the campaign, I think, with the vision and the message, may have had an edge there.
Anna Navarro, you were one of those establishment Republicans who did not support Donald Trump. What happened?
Well, looking like we didn't do well. Look, I think that I think what we're seeing today is frankly a rejection of Hillary Clinton. I think people looked around and said, I'd rather vote for the devil I don't know than the devil I know. I think the Comey letter was extremely hurtful to her. It's frankly astounding, that he won Florida, for example. He had such little infrastructure. He had no field offices. Hillary Clinton began organizing in Florida well over a year ago. When you compare what Mitt Romney did in 2012 as far as organization, Mitt Romney lost Florida. John McCain lost Florida. I think the turnout was wrong in all the polls. The same way that Mitt Romney underestimated the number of Obama coalition members that would come out, I think these folks underestimated the number of white folks that would come out.
There's a rule in politics. If you build a church without Jesus, you get a warehouse. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have something to inspire people, all the machinery in the world won't deliver voters who aren't there to the polls.
But to pick up on Alex's point, I interviewed Trump back in 2013 in Iowa. It was his first trip to Iowa as a potential presidential candidate. Nobody thought he was going to run. I don't think he thought he was going to run at this point. And I asked him, what would the motto of a Trump presidential campaign be? This is 2013. And he said, well, I think it would be Make America Great Again. I mean, I didn't even remember that. I went back and looked at the old interviews. He has been consistently on that message.
So you broke the story.
Exactly, but exactly, it's exactly my point. But also, something happened with Hillary Clinton, which is, for all the talk of when they go low, we go high, the Hillary Clinton campaign at the end was entirely a negative campaign. It was Donald Trump is unfit for office. He is temperamentally unfit. He is unprepared. Not only that, he is likely to fly off the handle and maybe even cause a nuclear war. That was literally the argument that they were making in the final days.
She talked about it. Go ahead. You got a projection there.
We have a projection. It is the state of Georgia, 16 electoral votes. They are going to go to Donald Trump as well. Bill Clinton won it in 1992. Republicans have won it ever since. Donald Trump continues that tradition. The map continues to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Lead for Donald Trump gets bigger and bigger. He now has 244 electoral votes to 209 for Hillary Clinton. Of course, you only need 270 to win. David Muir, he is closing in.
He certainly is, George. And look at this. This is really fascinating. A key question that we ask every 4 years, the track of this country. And if you think it's on the wrong track, look at this. 93% who say wrong track went with Trump. 32% who did not believe wrong track went with Hillary. And look at this, non-college white men. This is even larger than the number I had for you before. This is 49 points. By 49 points, Donald Trump won non-college white men in this country. That's a record set. The last one since 1980 was 11-point gap.
Yeah, let me go back to Pennsylvania and Ohio. In those rural areas, when voters were absolutely saying those white working class men were enthusiastic about Donald Trump, they were that hidden vote.
Got to take a break. Donald Trump, 26 electoral votes from victory. Such a dramatic night. Everyone is watching Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. We'll be right back.
The successful millionaire.
And we are back now, coming up on midnight here in the East. Donald Trump, let's take a look at the map right now. Donald Trump has a lead, 244 electoral votes to 209 for Hillary Clinton. You need 270 to win. You see the states out there right now. For Hillary Clinton to win, she basically has to run the table right now. Donald Trump is ahead in most of those states right now. Matthew Dowd, this is really something. We could have one of the biggest upsets ever in American history coming up.
Regardless of the final outcome, which I think heavily leans in Donald Trump's favor, this is the biggest political upset news story in 100 years, in at least 100 years. Donald Trump, not favored to win against 16 opponents, comes through the primaries, wins the primary, everybody discounts him, comes into a general election totally behind against a machine that had all the establishment, all of it, including the Republican establishment, basically either silently or vocally against him. And he's about not yet, but he's on the verge of pulling off. And I think we're going to look back at this. It's more so than any other election, presidential election, that we've seen in our lifetimes, but go back 150 years.
Let's go to Nate Silver right now. Nate Silver, you had your forecast coming into the night like so many others. In fact, you were more cautious on Hillary Clinton victory than many others, but you still had it above 70%. You've had this dramatic change as the results have come in overnight.
Well, we were a lot more cautious because of the scenario that's unfolding now, which said if she underperforms in the Midwest, she could lose the Electoral College despite winning the popular vote. She will probably win the popular vote once California and the West Coast is counted, but there are a lot of swing states in the Midwest if you lose Wisconsin, which has not been called yet, but probably will be if we're being honest. She can maybe hold Michigan, Pennsylvania, and get to a 269-269 tie. But when you lose Ohio and Iowa by 3 to 5 points, when Michigan is in jeopardy, her voters are concentrated just on the coasts, and she'll have plenty of votes. She'll get a lot of votes, maybe more votes than Donald Trump, but that leads to not her winning the White House.
Oh, that's that. And where is your projection right now? Can you put it up there again?
So right now, we have Clinton with a 20% chance, but that's without Wisconsin having been called. When Wisconsin's called, she either has to basically win Arizona, or there are some ties, some 269 ties. They involve her running the table. That would go to the House of Representatives potentially. So, you know, not even that much of a reward for Clinton there because the House would probably be Republican. But if she ran the table, it could be a tie is maybe her best hope, unless there's a lot of vote we are accounting for in Wisconsin or Arizona somehow swings her way.
Let's take another look at the states that are still out there. John Carl, let's start with Wisconsin.
I keep stranger things have happened, but I don't know if stranger things have happened. I mean, just to Matthew's point of covering this race, the chances this guy would be the Republican nominee were astronomically small, and then this, it's just unbelievable. So you wanted to go to Wisconsin. Donald Trump's lead is actually expanding in the state of Wisconsin, 4 points. Next door in Michigan, it's tight, but I'll tell you, I've looked at this, 48-47. Hillary Clinton is underperforming in Wayne County, which is Detroit. She is underperforming in Wayne County. Clearly, the big city vote, the African-American vote in Michigan is not turning out for Hillary Clinton.
And since Nate Silver mentioned it, let's take a look quickly at Arizona, because Arizona, Donald Trump has a lead there.
Arizona, Donald Trump has a lead. It's only a 3-point lead, but 63% reporting. It's closer than you would have expected in previous cycles, but it's highly unlikely that she's going to win the state of Arizona.
Cokie Roberts, astonishing.
It is astonishing. I will say this about Arizona. They have voted to increase the minimum wage, and maybe some of the same people voting to increase the minimum wage are also voting for Hillary Clinton. So it could be surprising there, but it would be a surprise. It is.
And in Arizona tonight also, Joe Arpaio has lost.
the sheriff,
He's free to be
strong
the
supporter
Secretary
of Donald
Homeland
Trump.
Security.
And John McCain has won.
Okay, John McCain is one right there. We are just moments away from midnight. Have to take another quick break. Crucial point in this race. All eyes on Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. We'll be right back.